Now, I hadn't planned to cover Borderlands 4 unless something major came up, which was worth talking about, since everything had been pretty much hashed out a dozen times over a dozen different channels already. However, this week, Borderlands has given everyone one last small bit of a giggle before the DLC brings all the drama back to the forefront. As is the case with nearly all games, in the first month is what makes or breaks a game's longevity, and in some very unfortunate cases, on how much of a success it is. In many recent cases, single-player and co-op games seldom have more than 10 hours of actual content, rarely stretching out to 20 with all the optional stuff to do or work towards. However, in the case of Borderlands 4, which had no reason at all to fail, it would appear that everything is pointing towards a total failure in progress. I want to be really clear before getting into this, I have not personally played Borderlands 4, and so I don't actually have a personal take from the gameplay or the performance, only what I've been treated to secondhand. The Borderlands games just aren't for me. I've played a couple of them, I don't think they're bad games, they're just not my type of game. That said, any curiosity I did have towards Borderlands 4 was absolutely annihilated by the price tag, because no Borderlands game is worth $110 for the base version. Very rarely is any game worth that as a standalone product unless they can guarantee me days, weeks of playtime without investing anything further. I think it's a trap that a lot of new games fall into now that Nintendo and a couple of others have raised that entry-level price bar. It's hurting developers more than it's helping, but that's a conversation for another day. The reason though that I decided to circle back on talking about Borderlands 4 is that it's been brought to my attention that not only has Borderlands 4 lost 85% of its player base, give or take, in the first month, but it's now also gone on sale, which is a huge kick in the ass for anybody who actually shelled out full price for the game only a month ago. This on top of Randy Pitchford, who's pouring fuel on a fire that he himself lit and fanned with his insightful comments, and then claiming to help people in the same breath. Now, some of his most amazing gems are of course telling people that Borderlands 4 is a premium game for premium gamers. A fairly rich statement given how Borderlands 4 sales look comparatively to other games which don't tout themselves as premium. Battlefield 6 being the most recent, smashing 7 million in sales in 3 days, and Silksong with an estimated 4 million over about the same time period as Borderlands has been out. That's a hell of a far cry from Borderlands' only 2.5 million. Randy's also gone on to post some pretty wild math about support tickets, which really aren't mathing at all, and to compound his attempts to try and deflect from how many people actually are having problems, we're expected to believe that anybody is going to send a support ticket after his statement to simply refund the game and play something else. A wild statement coming from the man in charge, and I genuinely wonder how many people actually stepped up and took that advice. Honestly, we'll probably never know, but it'd be interesting to know. In several cases, Randy even managed to get himself community noted, which is pretty impressive given that he continued to double down long after many in the hardware community put him on blast with evidence backing up the claims that the game is poorly optimized and using frame generation as a crutch to hide that fact. And honestly, who can blame them, with even the 5090 requiring DLSS for 1440 to play comfortably? And with an article from Windows Central stating that the minimum specs of Borderlands 4 are above 50% of Steam users' hardware, it's pretty clear to see that Randy wanted everything shiny that came out of the Unreal Engine 5 box and wanted it thrown into Borderlands, consequences be damned. And with a growing list of complaints such as stutters, hiccups, deteriorating performance, and even consoles having to be restarted, honestly, good luck to any Switch 2 users that buy the game if it ever even makes it onto the Switch 2 at this point. Now, in a sense, I do kind of understand where Randy has come from. As a boss, you want to be proud of the product your team's produced, and I'm sure given some of the reviews that I have seen, Borderlands 4 is, under everything that blankets this game negatively, I'm sure it's a great game when it does work. But that's the problem everyone's having. You need to get it to work well enough. Randy made an analogy once of putting a Ferrari engine in a monster truck, and I've seen him use the vehicle reference a couple of times in his rants. But the problem is that he's got it the wrong way around, and from the amount of criticism, it's hard to argue against. Realistically, we have a Toyota Yaris engine trying to drive a Ford F-150, and it's just not gonna happen. The product is wonderful and shiny on the outside, but every time you try to get up a hill, you're stuck in flying first the entire time, presuming it even gets up the hill without exploding or shearing something. Now, I could go into how Borderlands using the Unreal 5 engine was a bad choice from the get-go, as is the case with just about any game that's made on it these days, but I won't, despite the problems that come from it. I feel the Borderlands 4's failures stem from a singular individual and less from the development team and their choice of engine. While I think it's fair to acknowledge that Randy did try and help people by offering tech support on X, I think it's just as fair to say that he upset more people than he helped with his backhanded comments during the process and surrounding the game's release. Had he just shut up and not said anything, people would have taken the poor optimization better than how it was taken. And telling people ahead of the release that Borderlands 4 is worth $200, or that a real fan would find a way to pay $80? Find a way to pay it? The bloke is clearly fresh out of Nintendo's marketing school. With mixed reviews on Steam and a user score of 4.4 on Metacritic, and a CEO who won't shut the fuck up, it's easy to see why this premium game for premium gamers, sold at a premium price, has sunk so low, well below the 24-hour average of Silksong, a game which has been extremely humble about itself and its price tag. But all that is just my opinion. If you have a different one, or even a similar one, feel free to let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed the video, please be sure to like and subscribe.